G'day. Welcome to this week's edition of SA Wine Weekly. With me, I've got superstar of the wine industry, one of the best looking guys in the wine industry, Michael Petrucci from Sabella Vineyards. G'day, mate.
Thank you, mate. How are you?
Not too bad.
Thank you for inviting me into your studio for your live presentation.
No worries. Throw you under the bus straight away, of course.
Yep, of course, why not?
Let's go straight to it and then tell me and everybody else watching.
Yep.
And remember, everybody out there, this is an interactive show. So any questions you've got Michael here to answer your questions, whether they be about wine, whether about McLaren Vale, whether they be about his Italian heritage or concreting, whatever you like. Fire the questions to him. And while you've got a wealth of knowledge here, use it. Okay? So let's start with, I guess, Petrucci's. Very Italian, obviously.
Yeah, of course, mate. I can't deny that fact.
Tell us the history. When did they come to the Vale?
So, 1977, originally from Victoria, the three siblings, Joe Petrucci being the oldest, Vicky, she's a Vasarell, being the female and the second child, and then John Petrucci. So there were three of them. They moved from Victoria to McLaren Vale. They had family friends that lived in McLaren Vale, and they, used to come and visit as young adults, their family friends in McLaren Vale, and they fell in love with the area. In 1977, my grandfather, which was the original patriarch of the family, found a property in McLaren Vale, which is the current property that we all still reside on, in McLaren Vale on McMurtry Road. 120 acres, so they had originally 40-acre parcel each, and that's how it all began.
Okay, so three siblings.
Yep.
Your dad?
Yep, Joe.
Joe. Everyone knows Joe.
Right, big moustache.
Joe's the one with a massive mo.
That's it. He's the iconic moustache man of McLaren Vale.
We couldn't bring him on the show because
right.
he would have totally taken over.
Yeah, no, you can't have that happening.
What did it end up being, the Joe show? Great photo here, two really good-looking men, one Italian, one not. Not that you can really tell.
No, not at all.
But so he's the owner, founder.
That's correct. Yep, he was the one. So originally, so in 1999 was when we started the Sabella Vineyards wine label. So from 1977 to 99, predominantly grape growers.
Okay.
100% grape growers. I mean, we used to make our own wine for our own consumption, but
any grappa?
Oh, that.
Of course.
There was
no,
always.
of course there wasn't. That's right.
Of course not.
No.
No distilling of any spirits happened back in those days. But so that's how it all started out. And then slowly, the way that they all are, they want to do bigger and better things for their family and all that kind of stuff. And then they went from that. So.
We got our first question.
Luke Harris, what hair products does he use?
Not really. I did say you can ask any question he likes. So, what hair product do you use?
I actually don't know. It's a red tin. I think it's called Murray's. But thanks, Luke. You've made my night, mate. I appreciate that.
Cheers, Luke. Good work. Keep them coming. Everybody else, don't forget, ask the questions throughout the night as well when we're talking about the wines.
Can we keep it wine related? Can we keep the questions wine related would be great.
I'm going to actually ask a question. If you come up with the correct answer, you have a chance to win the bottle that we're tasting and talking about at the time. So, we've talked about the Petrucci.
Yep.
Dad, Vasarell
Correct, right. So
the
affiliation there is auntie, relative, uncle, Pat and Vicky Vasarell, owners of Vasarell Restaurant and Cellar Door in the main street. So 169 Main Street, McLaren Vale is where they've had their restaurant for the last 11 years. So it's great. Good Italian.
Good plug.
Good Italian. Yeah,
good plug. And great restaurant. We might be sampling some of their food a little bit later. And one of my favourite restaurants, I actually go there usually for my anniversary.
Right on.
Okay, so great restaurant, half Italian wife, fits in perfectly. Oh, look what we got here.
Johnny, yeah, I know that. I know that man
know
very
Johnny
well.
there?
Yes, I do.
All right, let's answer his.
Okay, so
please tell us a little bit about the small piece of oak that's in the flagship
wine, and how long do you or can you age this wine for? So
we're talking about the reserve.
Yeah, talking about the reserve Shiraz. So
tell us a story.
Okay, so coming into the wine industry in 1999, it was a point of difference that I wanted to champion, and as a result of me looking at the different aspects of winemaking, aging wine, barrel work, all of that kind of stuff, I patented the winemaking technique of actually adding oak to the bottle and bottling the wine with oak under sterile conditions in an airtight sealed vessel, being the bottle itself. So, long story short, you put your wine in oak every 4, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, depending on your temperature control. You need to basically maintain that wine. I mean, you need to top the wine, you need to check the sulphur levels and all that kind of stuff. So to eliminate that kind of labour intensive, the more barrels that you got, the more work that you got to do. So racking and returning, all that kind of stuff that actually goes along with making wine and aging them in oak. So I came up with a winemaking technique where I actually add oak to the bottle. So all my wines, all the wines that you see at your local bottle shop, you've actually taken the word of the winemaker as gospel in regards to, this is when the wine is ready to drink. I've decided to bottle it. I've decided to release it. You as the consumer don't really have a lot to do with the actual process. So the way that I wanted to turn that around was food and wine go together. If you went to a restaurant and you chose a steak and you wanted it cooked a certain way, a certain style, a certain cut, with a certain sauce, you make all those decisions. But when you chose the wine or choose a wine to go with it, you don't have anything to say about it. So as a result, I wanted to basically tie in the two as the consumer becoming more involved in the winemaking process.
So they get to decide how long to age it for.
How long it ages on oak. Yeah, that's exactly right.
So did we ever have any trouble with people drinking?
Nah, well, no, not really. There was no necking of bottles and such at the time, but there was a big red warning put on the bottle, oak block inside, inside,
and a little stopper, so
and a little choker, so to speak. That once the oak was put in there, it wasn't able to come out with relatively, ease. It had to be forced out. So. That's
and do many other wineries use this?
No. So no one else does it. So I had the patent on that when I first developed it for 12 years. Wow. So that was it was good. It was good for us as a launching point of difference. So because no one else was doing it, it gave us an opportunity to showcase that as our flagship, and we wanted to use it as a way that people could relate Sabella as a new and upcoming wine label. And
so how many vintages did we do this for?
So it's not done every vintage. It was only done when I made it, when there was a stellar vintage year that basically a wine stood out that I could then,
So what years did we do?
So we did 99, 2001, we did 2003, 2005, 2008.
Yeah.
And that's the current one now.
2008 is the current one.
2008, yeah.
Any more?
Oh, there might be some ticking away
Anything?
that I'm
Oh, you don't want to give it away?
I'm trialling a few different wines and that, so yeah.
So maybe you heard it here first. Another question.
David Douglas Graham, how well does that wine sell in the market?
Are we talking the reserve? Or
So if we're talking about the reserve, the reserve is, it does sell good, because a lot of people, when we first released it and did private tastings and stuff in the wineries, when I held private tastings, a lot of the feedback I was getting from customers was, I'm not going to tell anyone about this. I want to keep it to myself. I was like, no, don't do that.
No,
I need you to tell people. I need you. No, I want to keep it to myself because it's like a little gem that I want to, showcase to people that I, want to impress. And I was like, well, You can. And then, see, the biggest problem is that, and what I wanted to bring back when we first released the wine, with the 100% shift in our label from cork to Stelvin,
Yeah.
the theatre of drinking wine, opening up a bottle of wine, kind of disappeared. I mean, you'll see later when we crack open a bottle, the romance is gone.
Well, Anna showed us last week. You can roll it on your arm.
Roll it on your arm, flick it up in the air, and so there's a lot of sommeliers. There's a lot of sommeliers that like to, put a thing. So what I did with a lot of my my reps and stuff is basically utilise the decanting of the wine, present the oak block that was coated in the tartrates that the wine was, throwing out.
All right. So it sells really well.
Yeah.
It sells that well, you can't get it, can you?
Well, that's right. Yeah.
I might have some, but
Well, you might have
a couple of mates might have some
hidden away.
hidden away. One of them threw up a question to me.
Yep.
How long can he keep his 2008 for?
Okay, so
Damien, there's your question. I know you're on a webinar with work, but he really wanted that question answered.
okay,
He's got half a case of it still somehow,
beautiful.
and
I
might have 3 bottles.
So to put it in layman's terms, the oak block, because it's completely submerged in the 750ml bottle of wine, will only oak the wine to a certain degree.
Right.
So if you get a tea towel and stick it in your sink, it'll only hold a certain amount of water before it becomes saturated. So all my trials and research that I did leading up to the release was different cuts of wood, different size pieces of wood, different firing of the wood. So the wood and the oak block that is in there, which is made to a certain way and toasted a certain way, is made to the extent that it will oak 750ml bottle of wine. It'll stop oaking. So it's not as if you're chewing bark.
No.
It'll only oak to a certain amount because it will saturate the wine.
How long? He's got
So 2008,
Should
it's
drink him?
12. Yeah, you can drink it, or you probably have another 3-5 years if they're
Right.
kept in. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to get on to tasting some wine.
Okay. Cool.
So what have you brought in first? We've got the white wine.
Right.
Now this is one of my wife's favourites. We may have got it as a present when one of our daughters was first born. So I'm going to let you open it.
Okay.
And you can tell me a little bit about the wine. Tell me what it is.
All right.
Where the name comes from.
Yeah.
Tell me about the Statue of Liberty.
Okay.
Oh, no, it's not the Statue of Liberty.
It's not really a Statue of Liberty. It does look like a Statue of Liberty, but it's the Statue of Abundance. So coming from Italian descent, the
Crack it and talk.
yeah. So basically, the way that everything operates is everything needs to be in abundance when it comes to food, wine, excess. So we adopted the Statue of Abundance to utilise the way that we like to. Is that
Tides out.
yeah,
Tides out.
We got to drink it. That's the biggest problem. We're not allowed to tip and so yeah. That's the reason we adopted the Statue of Abundance. So
Right.
she's
The name?
the name, right? Sabella, the name, or
No, the name
okay.
of the wine.
So mother and daughter. Sabella Vineyards is a father and son operation we just talked about, but there are 2 other members of my immediate family, which is my mother and my sister. So this was paying homage to them as the, when we first developed it, they weren't, they were doing their own thing. I mean, Mum was looking after us and
Yeah.
making us and keeping us fed and all the rest.
Making us platters.
Making us platters and keeping us fed, and my sister was, studying and to become a school teacher. So in regards to, it's our tribute.
It's named
to,
after the girls.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I named after
All
the
right,
girls.
so we're looking at it. I'm looking
Right.
at it going
Savignon Blanc.
crystal clear.
Right, so Savignon Blanc, straw-like colour. Now, Savignon Blanc it's basically came on in a big way in the wine.
Oh, she was the flavour, wasn't it?
Right.
Everyone wanted it.
So, and that's the biggest problem. The wine industry is like the fashion industry. Something comes into fashion, it thrives for however many years, and then it goes out of fashion.
Yeah.
It never goes away, but then eventually it will make a resurgence, and so that's what really Sauvignon. What happened with Sauvignon Blanc?
Yeah, it used to be around.
Yeah,
Came back.
then what happens is, because Sauvignon Blanc's one of the actually oldest vines from the vinifera family back centuries.
Right.
So Sauvignon Blanc, Savignon loosely translates to savage, wild, similar to the way they used to play football. Anyway, so
we won't touch on that.
Savignon is wild, Blanc, white, wild white.
Right.
So,
Now that, probably remember that, I reckon.
right,
No, I'm talking to people out there.
Okay.
It would be worth remembering that, I reckon. Now I'm smelling it, and I'm quite accustomed to this wine, but very passion fruit.
yeah, citrus, that's basically summer fruits, stone fruits, citrus. That's one of the reasons that Sauvignon Blanc basically became so popular so quick,
Yeah.
because it appealed to a lot of palates.
Easy to drink too.
Easy to drink. So this took the mantle from the easy drinking Chardonnay of the day.
From the Crows.
Yeah.
From the
Right.
Adelaide Crows supporters, the Chardonnay
And
drinkers.
when a new wine, let's say the latest craze, Prosecco comes on,
Yeah.
right? It's slowly taking the mantelpiece of Sauvignon Blanc. So
Right.
they're the peaks and the troughs and the trends that come and go in the wine industry, and yeah, basically.
All right. So part of the show, obviously,
Yep.
is we talk about wine, we talk about the history,
We do.
but we also talk about the food.
Okay.
So we're going to have. What are we going to?
All right. So ideally,
What are the Italians in McLaren Vale?
we're going to.
Gonna-
Well, we've paired this with a chicken and pesto fettuccine. So compliments of Vasarelli's. We're going to go for three pasta dishes tonight. Not that there's anything to do with my Italian heritage.
No, I don't know. I got nothing
No,
to do
of
with
course,
it. All,
nothing
does
to
it?
do with that. So, with that in mind, we've got chicken, a light white meat.
Yeah.
The pesto being non-cream based, but rather oil based, and herbs being basil and right. So, in regards to the white, a lot of people just think, oh no, white can only be consumed with, fish or salad or light, but it can also, if it stands up and has got enough backbone, can actually support the dish that you're actually eating.
It actually goes remarkably well with it. White wine in abundance.
What? Oh,
Sounds
there you
delicious.
go. There you go.
Wow. The wine is actually delicious. And if you said to me we're going to eat this pasta with it,
Yep.
I would think this pasta's way going to overpower it, but
Yeah.
it doesn't.
No, that's exactly right.
That's what you're talking about, the backbone.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So, I mean,
Have a beer,
sample.
otherwise-
Okay, yeah. Sorry.
Auntie won't be very happy.
Apologies. Yeah. The biggest problem is the misconception of Sauv Blanc being light on, wishy-washy,
Yeah.
basically soapy water just to fill a spot.
It's not that at all, though,
No,
is it?
it's not that at all. Now, the problem is, and the misconception also is, because McLaren Vale's a warmer climate, you can't grow Sauv Blanc. Now, as a variety, the larger the crop on white wine, in particular Sauv Blanc, the better your wine turns out. Totally different to red
Okay.
wine and
Eat
grapes,
up.
right?
Eat up. Auntie Vicky won't be happy if we don't.
No, okay.
One of my favourite ladies, Auntie Vicky, got to sit next to her a couple of times
she's good
between
fun.
you and between your mum and her. Perfect position
They
to
looked
sit.
after you. Yeah, that's right.
So we're going to actually give a bottle of this wine away. We're going to chat about it. Mick's going to have a drink and something to eat. So I'm just going to, nice and simple. What was it called? The Sabella Sauvignon Blanc. What was the name of it? Chuck your answers up now. First person who comes up with the correct answer wins himself a bottle. If you don't answer in a couple of minutes, the bottle goes to the staff that are working behind the scenes. All right, so mother and daughter, awesome. Actually, if no one wins it, I'll take it home from all.
Well, that's all right. Yeah, we'll keep it cold.
Yeah, for sure. But perfect pairing.
Perfect pairing. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah,
And
good.
I finished already, so
No,
that
that's
didn't
good,
take
man.
long at all, did it?
Lovely.
Excellent. So, Petrucci's, I mentioned to someone that you're coming on, and they said, what about the small goods?
Okay.
Not many people, well,
Yeah,
I know about the Italians. We grew up in the Vale, we know. But a lot of people don't know that the Petrucci's used to make their own small goods.
Yes. Right.
And you don't think that's a big deal, do you?
Yeah, nah, not really. I mean, a big part of growing up in an Italian background and an Italian family is you always got a day off of school for making the pasta sauce, making the passata, and you also got a day off of school for making the salamis and the prosciutto and all the other small goods that go along with that kind of heritage that my family brought with them from, you know, growing up in Italy and all that kind of stuff. So as a part of that, so I thought I'd bring some in and go from there.
You better answer Luke's question.
Luke Jamili, are Vasarell still doing takeaway? Yes, they are, mate. I went there and picked this up tonight.
We took it away tonight for tonight's show. No, they are doing it.
They are, mate. They are. Yes.
Get on down there, Luke. Go and grab a feed and say that you saw it on SA Wine Weekly. So, have we got an answer to the question for the bottle of wine? What was it called?
5 seconds to go.
5 seconds to go. No, the winner is. We'll have to give it to Luke, I think. He's the only one who answered the question. Oh, Paul, right at the last second. Mother and daughter.
Good boy.
Congratulations,
Well done,
Paul. You know Paul?
I know Paul.
Yeah, you know Paul.
I do. Now, the only thing is how are the bottles of wine going to get to Paul?
Paul?
Yeah.
He'll come and get it.
Okay, good boy.
He'll come and get it.
That's it? No worries.
Don't mind dropping in the chief video marketing studio, Paul. So, no, I reckon he'll be here tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock.
Knocking.
Where's that bottle?
Good work.
All right. We've done the white.
Done the white. Okay, we're going to move on.
We're going to move on. Obviously, we brought in 3 bottles.
Yes.
What have you brought for the punters?
Right. So the next one is my Merlot. So another wine that is, and that's the reason that I brought these 3 wines in. Basically, as a McLaren Vale producer, I could have brought in Shiraz, I could have brought in Cab, I could have brought in 3 Shiraz.
What everyone else might.
Right, and that's where, in regards to the Merlot's a variety. They will always prop up many other varieties in regards to lifting the aromatics, lifting the the flavours,
lighter,
and enhance it. Yeah, so it can be lighter. It could also be made in regards to a big red.
So the Sabella Merlot.
Okay, so
a lighter,
medium bodied. So in regards to the portfolio that Sabella has, we've got Shiraz, we've got Cab. Well, we've got 2 Shiraz, 2 Cab, and as a result, there needs to be an avenue there, basically, to take care of people that are looking for smaller release, but at the same time, wines that are not as powerful.
Yeah.
Because you're not always going to be drinking a wine with a steak or wanting to finish a full bottle of wine. And so Merlot is used as a filler, like I said previously, but at the same time, it's also, if given the opportunity, it's a brilliant standalone wine.
What about someone like myself when we first met years and years ago, and I didn't drink a great deal of wine? Another question from Luke.
Is it like Sangiovese? Similar. So in regards to how they grow very similar. Sangiovese is a big cropping wine and bigger bunches. Merlot actually grows smaller bunches, smaller berries, tighter bunches. So there are opportunities there to basically utilise the different clones to make the different style of wine. So by me making a more full-bodied Merlot, or medium-bodied, but not a lighter red wine like a Sangiovese, because I don't do a Sangiovese. It kind of fills in the spot, so it goes Cab Shiraz as my more fuller body,
Yeah.
Then as you drop down the spectrum, it goes Merlot,
Yeah.
and we'll move on to some of the alternate varieties.
And someone who maybe has a younger palate that hasn't drunk a lot of wine.
Yep.
Merlot, good wine to get people like
A good introduction into the
Obviously.
wine industry in regards to giving you an opportunity to taste flavours,
Yeah.
not be overpowered with oak. The way I like to describe my Merlot is cherry ripe. So dark chocolate, smooth, emulsified berries. You get a lot of that. You get a lot of those textures. Whereas some of the more heavier bottles, you basically get more pungent flavours and mixtures and tannins and stuff that stick to your palate. Whereas this one it sits differently. Easier drinking.
Yeah, definitely easier drinking. As you know, you teased my brother and I for years and years about drinking Pinot.
Correct, yeah.
Because we weren't the best wine drinkers around. We loved the Merlot. And that was what kind of got us further into drinking wine. You kicked us off with the Pinot into the Merlot.
Yeah.
And then we've moved, obviously, onto the heavier wines as time's gone on.
And
so I reckon Merlot, a great wine for people who are just starting out on their wine journey.
Yeah, and you know what? It's also a good starter to a dinner party as a red.
Oh, okay.
So it can actually,
First red out.
awaken your palate, to lead on to bigger, heavier meals, bigger wines, and it'll give, an opportunity to get everything moving. And
All right, I've got to cut you off because
no,
his
good.
past is looking at me.
So
What have we got?
we've got a duck pasta with basically it's incorporating the sauce with duck, so it's coming into a heavier meat than the chicken previously, coming into a heavier wine. So associating the pairing, giving an opportunity to basically enhance the wine, not overpower it, and then go from there. Your thoughts, mate?
Oh,
It wins.
no, I can't even concentrate on the wine because of the pasta. But we've got Tony McGuinness. How long can you leave the Merlot once it's been opened for? Does it need to be finished?
In a certain amount of days. Okay.
Great question, Tony.
Right. So that applies to a lot of wines, and it depends on the extent that I've gone to as a winemaker before it's been bottled or as it's been bottled, and the specifications and stuff. For me, as a winemaker, to tell my bottling contractor, I would like you to bottle it with so much residual, so much dissolves oxygen, so much CO2, so that actually will then, and sulfur levels as well, that'll actually then preserve the wine once it's open. So, depending on...
Come on, how long?
Okay.
Come on, put him on
2 3 days.
spot.
2 3 days. So if you're going to keep it with a cap on in your kitchen, nowhere hot, not on a windowsill, and you know, in the fridge, it'll last even longer. It'll change the flavour of the wine. Yeah. But you can even keep it even longer.
I'll tell you what, duck and Merlot.
Yeah.
Never had it before.
Yeah.
We'll be having it again, I reckon.
I was just going to
Next
say
time I'm
next
at
time
Vasarell's. So, I don't know if we've told people what the name of it was. But what about a really easy question? Like you struggled on the last one, the viewers out there. So let's what are we pairing the Merlot with?
What was the dish?
Yeah, come on, that can't be that hard, can it?
Nah, well, you just razzed it up, mate.
Yeah, and where's it from?
Okay, so the meal?
No, they've got to come up. Well, you and I know where it's from.
Okay, right. Okay, so the actual dish and where it's come from.
You've been extremely spoiled.
Oh yeah,
because Mum cooks very similar to Annie as well.
Growing up, I mean, yeah, that's just it. So in regards to cuisine, I've never gone without. So.
You've worked pretty hard, I reckon. At the same time, looking pretty slim. And all right, I'm
more than happy with that.
I'm a real big fan, and with the dark, it went absolutely perfectly.
Good, way to go.
What about Cellar Life? Is
again
Merlot any different?
Yeah, well, it is because it's a bit of a lighter wine, so it's not as if you want to how it's made, the kind of wine. So a Cabernet, for example, has got a lot more tannins, a bit more astringent. It'll hold itself a bit more. It's a bit more robust.
Yep. So Cellar Life,
3-5 years.
Right.
You can do it for a bit.
I've got some early ones I need to drink. I think.
Yeah, and see, that's just it. See, it's not as if, and that'll go back to the way it was bottled, and I mean, This current 2016, it's basically I will release a wine when I'm happy with the wine, and also knowing that the consumer can drink it straight away.
Yeah.
I don't want to sell someone a bottle of wine and then say, look, put it in your cellar for 5 years and then have it then.
I can't believe nobody else had that Marilyn Merlot.
Right. So a play on words. It was something that I wanted to, work with as part of a marketing degree and background. It was more like, well, that kind of like rolls into the same thing. So our Marilyn Merlot was developed that way. So yeah.
All right. So I reckon we can put the top back on that one.
Lovely.
And then we can work out oh, hang on. We've got a few people throwing up some answers here.
Vasarelli's, okay. And duck pasta. Oh,
well,
there's a toss-up.
I might have to go halves.
Okay, Danielle. I know Danielle. I don't know John. So,
all right, so
I'll bring you another bottle and they can get one each.
All right, one each.
All right.
All right. Good work. So the duck pasta.
That's it.
We got to keep plugging it because it's such a good restaurant, isn't it?
It is. It is.
And
it is good.
seeing that she cooked for both of us.
It's handy having a family member, have their own restaurant.
Vasarell's in the main street, McLaren Vale. Go there if you want a really nice dining experience. Take your wife, partner, boyfriend, whoever it may be, and very child friendly as well.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Because it's family. It's Vasarell's. It's family.
Family oriented.
So yeah, head on down there. So this one looks a bit different.
Okay, so
it actually looks like it's from a different winery. If I didn't know it any better. So Petrucci and Son.
Okay, so Joe Petrucci and Son, Joe Petrucci and his son, which is me. That there was basically we developed this label for the UK market. We had, long story short, we had some journalists come out and over, and thanks to a good friend of our family, Steve Grimley, brought some journalists over, and they were sitting down at our my mother's kitchen table and talking to us about everything that was happening in the wine world, and we presented them with the normal platter of small goods, and they wanted to know where it all came from. So when my father explained to them that it was our own produce,
you made it all. Yeah.
They thought it was great. They actually couldn't believe that, as far as grape growers go, we also made our own small goods. So that's where the butcher shop label.
The butcher shop label,
correct, and that's where it came from. So that was developed. They didn't want to go with the Sabella label, so we generated.
Alex has thrown some of that over. He might need to take his girlfriend. He's got a 10-year anniversary coming up.
Yeah, brilliant.
Girlfriend, 10 years. Come on, mate.
What's happening there?
I don't know. Put a ring on it.
Long term.
10 years.
Long term girlfriend.
Well,
each to their own.
No better place to go to propose, Alex. Excellent place. Right.
Now you put it on social media, she's going to know what's going down if you.
Oh, it was going to happen anyway.
Yeah, right.
All right. So,
all right.
What have we got?
We got 2014 Colorino. So, Colorino is a grape variety.
Yeah.
An alternate grape variety. Reason being that it goes under this label. So this is the small batch, limited release, alternate variety that Sabella releases.
What sort of Italian?
Okay. Yeah. So I was Italian.
How did I guess?
Unfortunately.
Where are the vines from?
So
yours?
We grow 100% of all our
what block
wines. So McMurtry Road.
McMurtry Road.
Yeah. We
But you don't have many of them.
No, not at all. So that's why small batch, limited release. We grow those grapes, and we've had them in the ground for many years. So we brought the vines over from Italy and paid all the
you can pour and talk, mate.
Yeah. So basically, what we did was top work, which grafted some vines with the Colorino in order to see how it was going to go. So McLaren Vale, being very, very similar to the Mediterranean climate, has excelled in the way it has grown and the wines that we've been making. So Colorino grows predominantly in the Tuscany region.
Totally different smell.
Yeah, right. So
totally different.
That's where another point of difference that Sabella has in regards to these alternate varieties. The average consumer and the avid wine drinker now is basically more interested in trying all different wines and trying different styles and trying. So that's the reason that in the past 7 years we've developed a whole range under the Joe Petrucci and Son of alternative varieties. So Colorino is only the second vineyard in Australia to actually grow that, and we're one of them. The other one's in Victoria somewhere, but we're the only one that releases it as a 100% wine. So it's a
the only might want to listen to this one. People out there watching, the only ones in Australia,
Yep.
to bottle this.
Correct. As a Colorino, as a straight Colorino wine.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was kind of
And
a nice
does
little
it fly because of that?
Well, because
As
it's a
in
relatively unknown grape and an unknown wine, it's more the education that needs to go with it and
Yeah.
the introduction. So,
If anybody knows anything about wine,
yeah.
Or
they'll
grape
know it,
wine,
yeah. So
yeah.
if you've ever had a bottle of Chianti, there was be 100% guaranteed that there was Colorino grapes in it, because
Right.
grown in the Tuscany region, it's basically used as a colouring wine because of the way it grows and the deep ink.
it is very,
Yeah.
very dark, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So, where does it fit in the family? of
Okay,
wines?
so
So with
okay,
really strong Shirazes.
yes. So it basically it comes in as Cab, Shiraz, between your Merlot and your Shiraz or your Cabs, just in there as a
Okay.
medium bodied. So you can slide in a Nero d'Avola, you can slide in a Sangiovese into that character there. But at the same time, it's not anything that's going to basically take away from it. It's more, it's got different palate, different flavours, different undertones, and the way that it's made, it basically spends only a little time in oak to mellow out, but it lets the actual fruit flavours overpower the palate. So yeah, that's what the reason.
Right. So, one of your favourites?
One of my favourites, yeah, 2014. See, and as a variety, it ages really, really well.
Okay. So, cellar life or something like that?
Yeah.
Longer?
Well, it's already 6 years old.
Yeah.
So it's got a few years left in it yet, by all means. So, John Agostino, do you only sell in SA? No, John. We've got distributors in Victoria. We've got distribution in New South Wales, South Australia as well. The problem is, with being a small producer in WA and Queensland, you need to focus in areas that are solely Perth, because the states are so wide and so
Yeah.
big. You either got to, so that's what we're trying to do.
So Chris has jumped on. He
I know
wants
Chris.
to try it. So he loves his alternate wines.
Good boy,
Well,
Chris.
maybe-
Yes, I know
Hang
Chris.
on and throw an answer to a question out there, Chris. You might just get yourself a bottle.
Yep.
Now, once again,
Okay. Well, we've paired the
another
Colorino.
pasta from,
right.
once again, Vasarell's.
Okay,
Great restaurant
so-
in McLaren Vale.
All right. We've gone for one of the heavier pastas because it's a little bit heavier wine, a little bit more robust. And
What do we got?
Okay. Lamb ragu with penne pasta. So
This is what I would order if I went there.
yeah. Okay. So a bit hard, like a hearty pasta dish. The other two were
Bit lighter.
yeah.
Oh,
All right.
how good is that pasta?
Nice dish.
Well, Lucy, what chocolate bar would you match with your Colorino? Is this an in-house joke? Or?
Yeah, I think it is.
I think it
actually.
might be a little
Lucy's
bit
just
in-house
thrown one
joke.
in there.
Oh,
Colorino. I think Lucy would match it with like a Milky Bar.
a Milky Bar.
Somewhere along the lines. I think that would sit.
Now,
But yeah, so
drinking that on its own,
yeah,
then with the pasta, totally different taste. Totally like having a little bit of that
Right.
great pasta.
and that's what actually wine and food and the matching of wine and food actually is supposed to happen. But it's supposed to happen in a good way. So did it
Yeah,
happen in a good
it
way?
happened in a great way. It was
Okay.
it was nice on its own, but
Yeah.
just changed the flavour totally,
Right.
and it was amazing pasta.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you can have more, mate.
I will, don't worry. I'll be going back. But I must say, not many people would know about it.
No, that's
Thanks for
right.
bringing it on.
No, by all means. And
Because
that's,
I know you do have other wines you could have brought on, but I'm
Yeah.
really appreciative you brought something on different.
and the entire reason for me bringing that is basically utilising this platform, which I appreciate, is a little bit of education. So, Paul Rogers, how much do you sell this wine for, and can you get it from the farmer's market? Yes, you can get it from the farmer's market. My father's there. So,
hang on a minute.
Okay.
What's the farmers?
all right. So the Wollonga Farmers Market, which is the very first farmers market in South Australia, still going.
When's it on?
Every Saturday morning.
And your old man's down there, isn't he?
Correct.
I've
yeah.
seen him down there.
Yeah,
Offering me a wine
he
at
loves
9
that.
o'clock
He
in the
loves
morning.
that kind of social aspect of the whole wine industry, which that's great. He's good at it. He enjoys it, and yeah, I'm not going to pull him up on anything to do with that. So.
Well, you're busy at footy anyway, aren't you?
Yeah, well, that's it.
Being the junior coordinator for McLaren Vale.
That's right.
The Eagles. We thought we'd give the Eagles a play.
Why not? Yeah, the McLaren Eagles. Yeah,
And
by all means.
have we heard of whether we're playing or?
We are starting training as of Monday the 18th. So we've been given certain restrictions and stuff by the SANFL. Because SA's done so well with our cases and that, we've been given a little bit of a rope, so to speak, to work with, and that's what we're going ahead with.
Sabella's been massive sponsor of.
That's it, yeah, mate. Local club, man.
Of
we're
the McLaren Vale
always
Footy
happy
Club?
to support. Yeah.
Yeah.
Football club, netball club,
Whatever it be.
Yeah.
So, the question for this wine's going to be, what's the story of the label? Why is the butcher shop on the front? If you can answer that, you can have yourself a bottle of the limited release. I hope no one gets that really, but of the limited release Colorino,
Yes.
and you're going to be really happy.
Well, one would hope. I mean, fingers crossed.
They are going to
The,
be really
the
happy.
biggest problem is with the wine industry, and me being a winemaker and a producer of wine, I can't make a wine that is going to suit everybody's palate. But,
Nor do you have to, though.
well, and that's just it. So if I ask you anything in regards to the wines that you enjoy drinking,
Yeah?
then hopefully I would have made a wine to match your
Well,
preferred
you used
drink.
to just laugh.
Well,
When I said peanut, you
I
used
know,
to just laugh.
it happens. I mean, you know.
But you have made many ones
Yeah.
that I like. And
Yeah.
the Colorino's just been added to that. And I've got one question for you.
Okay, let's go. Oh, no, it's going to be terrible.
It's about the Chinese market.
Okay, yep.
Okay, and with COVID, we're hearing all
Yeah,
this
yeah.
stuff about China. They're not going to buy our meat anymore, which will probably be a bonus. Well, they've stopped buying it off for abattoirs.
There's been...
So
there's
we might
been-
get a ribeye for the price of a steak pretty soon. What's happening, do you think, over there with what effect would it have on the Australian market if China pulled out?
So... All right.
Would we find somewhere else to sell it to?
Yeah,
or-
so what you've got to understand is that the middle class that has grown in China over the past 10 to 12 years has developed a palate that Australian wine fits perfectly with.
Right.
So as a result of that, and there's a lot of built, you know, I deal closely with my Chinese customers, and even today, spoke to them briefly. The biggest misconception is, and the biggest problem is that media's kind of twists things around to basically benefit themselves.
So it's not as bad as
No,
what one would say.
it's not as bad.
Could it become a black market thing? Australian wines are harder to get. All of a sudden, the price might go up. Anything? Put your crystal ball on.
Okay, so Australian wine in the Chinese market is between 4th and 5th
Right.
supply. So the French still are number one, Italians, Portuguese, Argentinian wine, Australian wine.
See, I would have said two.
Right.
If
So
you asked
that
me, I would have
and
said second.
33% to 35% of all exported wine goes to China.
That's a big number. Now, one other little question.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a Simpsons episode
Yep.
that Homer was on the box of the dishwashing liquid in China, and I was really, you remember that, don't you? You remember that? You know where I'm going, don't you?
Right. Come on. Let's go. Let's hear
So
it.
was it true that you were all over China because the Chinese asked to take some pictures of you, and then they used them a lot in their advertising?
I
Tell the truth.
yeah, I will.
Don't dumb it down.
No, not at all. I gave permission to my Chinese customers to say that I was their winemaker. So as a result of that, it basically went to, they like to use WeChat as a massive platform.
Yeah, it was their Facebook.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
so when the people that I deal with have 1.5, 1.7 million followers, and then it basically just snowballed. So what happened was, some people in the Australian wine industry who were a little untoward what I was doing with China, basically came back to me and went, we would like you to cease and assist associating with these people. And I said, look, it's got nothing to do with me. So
You were just a pin-up boy.
oh no, it's like I gave him permission to use my photo.
You were just a pin-up boy.
Yeah, right. Let's go.
So,
with that.
did we have a winner for the Colorino? Oh, David Douglas Graham.
David.
No?
David spelled my name wrong.
Oh.
That's okay. I'm going to let that slide.
Are you?
He has.
He's got it right.
He
though,
has got it
hasn't
right. It's just maybe a spelling error, keyboard.
Yeah,
I don't know.
no, autocorrect. Must have been the autocorrect.
Autocorrect. No, that's good. David Graham, you've got it. That's exactly it.
Excellent. Good work, mate. Well, I must admit, having you on,
It's been good fun, mate. Look.
I didn't have to say much.
No, well, you made it easy for me.
You've done well.
I was picturing you naked for a lot of the time because I'm nervous up here. So
Jesus.
It was good fun.
Surprised you
Great
didn't
fun.
get any questions out.
No, it was all right.
And we've got a little bit longer. Is there any other questions out there? Anyone who want to fire away?
Please. How's the new cellar door going? Chris Con. Well, Chris, I see you a lot there having cheeky drinks with my father, so I'm sure you can tell me a lot more than what I can tell you, Chris. But thanks anyway for stirring the pot. It's going well, mate. It's going real good.
How old are the vines?
Well, the vines that we've been talking about, or vines in general. In 1977.
All right, I'll help Tony out. What's the oldest vines you got?
Right, 1977, when my father first acquired the property, which was the original property where I and the winery is.
Yeah.
I live in the winery is. There was Cabernet planted there in 1977 that was already over 50 years old. Okay.
Right.
Now, that makes an extra 40 years on top of that. So the Cabernet vines that grow the Cabernet, which goes into our Sabella Vineyards Cab Sav, over 90 years old. The property that the headquarters is based, we actually have got Shiraz that's over 100 years old there. So
some of the oldest vines?
some of the oldest are over 100. Yeah, some of them, yeah.
Some of the oldest
Yeah,
ones,
yeah.
okay. So we've got Paul. What will be the next flavour of choice in white wine?
Okay, so currently in our portfolio we have Savignon Blanc, Pinot Grigio, Moscato, and Prosecco. We like to do a little bit of bubbles because, flavour of the,
do some bubbles. So anything new?
We are thinking
Anything
about...
we can tell, Paul?
we are thinking about maybe cutting our white portfolio and introducing more reds.
Right.
So
right.
to throw a...
There you go, Paul.
Throw
No
a
more
roughie into
whites.
the mix.
Less whites, more red.
That's whites, more red. Yep.
Excellent.
That's what we're thinking about.
Wow.
Eric, explain. When you need the cellar door in the old church will reopen. Okay, so we've... thanks, Eric. That's great, mate. We have been given permission to trade under the SA government health regulations and all that kind of stuff. So it's completely up to us in regards to...
Answer the question.
Yeah.
When's it going to open?
Oh, well, we're
open.
It's open on Fridays
So when Joe can...
from 10 until 2 on Friday afternoons.
And what about some drinks outside?
Yes, so no. Well,
Not yet?
we haven't. No, so that's
Not
this
yet?
3-step plan. We haven't been given.
Right.
So you can buy and take away.
Yep.
No tastings are allowed to take place as yet. So that's what we're doing.
Soon.
Wallonga Farmers Market. Luke Harris, is there a great variety you're really keen to bring over? There are a couple. So as you know.
Give us one.
All right.
Let's
So
have
as a winemaker, you see wines come across, you and this and that, and what's this and what's that. So there are...
What's mix number one wish to start making as a winemaker? What grape variety are you going to bring?
Montepulciano.
Right.
So already here, a lot of people
Tell Luke again what it was.
Montepulciano.
Right. Excellent. There you go, Luke.
Monty, it's all right, yeah. Sorry, I was being quick. Okay, that's all right. David, you've done well, mate. That's in regards to the misspell of the...
Correct.
Yeah,
You know?
misspelling of the surname.
Still got the wine anyway.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, he won. That's all right. He done good.
Lost a little bit of friendship points, but yeah, you know. So, thanks for coming on.
No problems at all, mate. My pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolute wealth of knowledge. I'm sure that people learn a lot.
Thank you.
And
to
there was a
achieve
lot of
as
women
well.
on. I noticed there was a lot of women on.
I didn't
I won't
notice
say
that.
Jerry said there's about 75% women. So next week on SA Wine Weekly, we've got some sort of a different approach. We've got Phil Tabor from the Blewett Springs Wine Co. He's the winemaker, very organic.
Fantastic.
Told me some great stories. Just was a little bit hesitant to come on because he was following you, which is fair enough.
Nothing wrong
But
with that.
he actually told me a little bit about his winery, and he's got an amazing story. We're going to have him and his wife on. We're going to talk about the organics and the 100 sheep they run through the vineyard.
Beautiful.
A great story. So I think well worth tuning in. Thanks again, mate.
No worries. Appreciate it, mate.
And
My
thanks for
pleasure.
watching, guys. 8 o'clock next Wednesday on Facebook. Once again, SA Wine Weekly has a T-shirt. Thanks very much, Greg from Ballamar. Greg from Branders Promotional. Used to be Ballamar. Told me my shirt didn't fit, so he made me a new one. Thanks.